Hello and welcome to the IJA tutorial contest for 2012. I'm Rich Coad, and that's the move I'm going to teach you guys. I don't know what to call it yet, but basically it's the double arm flip. You know, double arm 4-ring flip. It's not a juggling move. It's not even a very hard move. It's very easy, and as you can tell, it's a symmetrical one. It's basically the right and left hand doing exactly the same thing at the same time. So to learn this is very easy. In fact, don't even ever train with your left hand. All you need to do is learn it with your right hand and then just let it mirror. The move is pretty simple. What you're going to do is, the key here, after you get your setup, which is one ring held in your hand like this, as if you were catching like that, you know. The next ring placed right on top of your hand, as if you were catching it from underneath, either in front or behind. It'll work either way. But basically held on like that, and you want to hold on to it very loosely, mostly just with a thumb to keep it in place, because the key to this move is that you don't want to use your wrist. You want to use your forearm to generate all the spin on the rings. Now, as you'll notice, and I'll do this in slow motion, the bottom ring here does a half flip, or even a no flip if you want to look at it that way, while the top ring does a single. And it's pretty easy to see. I'll slow it down for you right now. And that's that. So yeah, what happens here is that if you'll notice my arm movement, watch my arm movement as I do this again, I use absolutely zero wrist movement in this move. The principles of this move come from physics, basically your Physics 101 class. If you have a lever, and the further away you put the mass, the center of mass, from the fulcrum of a lever, the more energy it'll have when you push on the other end, which is basically being done by my muscle here. Which is, again, where most of the power is coming from in this move. It's coming from your bicep and your shoulder. And the power is coming from there. It's being translated through the fulcrum, which is going to be my elbow. And the further away ring gets more power put to it, obviously. I sounded like Bill Nye the Science Guy right now. Or even better, Beakman, the 80s version of Bill Nye, for those who don't know. Basically, what happens here is, again, you want to flick this move. You do not want to do that. You're going to have a tendency to have this overwhelming urge to just spin the rings as much as possible. And that's what happens when you do, is you lose all control. Granted, you can do higher spin rate versions of this trick, but that comes later after you've, mastered the basic one, which is, a half flip, a single. So what you want is basically, and this really makes your arm sore, by the way, to do over and over again, but that's, again, because, you're not using your wrist, you're using these muscles here to get the power. What you want is sorry, I'm out of breath. What you want to do is, again, like I said, you're just holding on with your thumb. You're not using your fingers at all. Let the bottom ring, and you practice it like this, just come up, almost like as if you were doing that move there. You let it come up, and you catch it in a bottom catch. Again, as you would catch a normal pancake. Which, by the way, knowing how to do pancakes really freaking helps with this move. It is incredibly useful, and incredibly useful for other moves as well. But again, the basic idea is you're almost sort of pushing it out and up and catching it. Almost in a reverse spin. And yeah, just practice that move a bunch of times until it's hardwired into you and you can get it. And then, of course, again, this ring will take care of itself. It's just a normal pancake that you're throwing, not using your wrist, but instead using your arm and maybe a little bit of your thumb to pull the ring back in order to do that single spin. And once you put them together, of course, it looks like that, pretty much. Now, if you're having trouble, like the top ring is going too low, or something or other, or this bottom ring here is getting caught up and ending up around your arm or underneath your arm, or you're basically not catching it, what you're going to want to do is just give more pop using your body and your shoulder. You want to give it some more vertical momentum, and that's another way to do this move as well. Is you can do this move totally flat, zero spin at all on either ring, and that's how you would do that version. Is you would have not so much forearm, but more pop from the shoulder, and man, that's starting to get sore. It feels a lot like a kendama or a cigar box move when you do it like that. And yeah, it's tough to catch, but then again, what isn't? Then of course you can also get a little bit crazy with this move, like this one, which I probably won't hit on the first time, but it's a 2-stage, and basically what happens is that I hit it on the first try. How about that? But basically, I take the bottom ring, knock it up, and that's what usually happens when I try to get that trick. You take the bottom ring, and just as it aligns perfectly vertical, you give it a smack upwards, so that it goes basically straight up. The other ring gets caught, and instead of the top ring now being caught like that, it's caught like that to make room for this one to come in on top. I'll do it once again in slow motion for you to see. Yeah, good enough. Yeah, that was definitely good enough. And of course, once you've done it and mastered it, you can then do the two-handed version. And then of course, that'll be a good way to start a cool 4-ring art string like this right here. Or something or other. You'll improvise, you'll figure it out. Have fun with it. Thank you very much. Rings! Rings! Ooh, rings! Best prop ever!